Hey there, all you creepers and rapers. Welcome to another episode of the Femme Fatalities. My name is Anna, and I'm here with.
Hey, Creeplings and Frightlings, it's Margaret. Welcome. And Anna, what movie are we discussing today?
We are talking about a film that is by one of my all-time favorite creators. I adore Tyler Perry, and I don't care who knows it. Although this is a little bit of a jump from Medea and some of the other programs and films that we've seen. I definitely appreciate this film being in the Tyler Perry universe now, and we're talking about none other than the film Straw.
Yes. So, a little bit also off from our usual horror topic. It does, though, have big Thanatology themes. So, if you haven't seen it, go watch it real quickly. Our trigger warnings: what? Racism, abuse of power, hostages. What else?
Child death. I think gender inequality, um, inequality in general as well, life sustainability, um,
Poverty, childhood
yeah,
illness.
manipulation. Um, I think really this film is extremely based in everyday life. This is reality. Um, to me, I think that Janiya is every woman in this film to me. Like, she's doing what she can do to take care of herself, to take care of her child, to hold things together. And even though she's maxing herself out, it still feels like she's only getting the minimum from it. And it really, how many single parents out there, how many people in general out there, you're working so hard, you're struggling. It seems to be just one thing after another that consistently happens. And um, so I think that this film is wonderful. I think it could be very triggering if you've been through some commonality experiences, but I think that it is definitely a fantastic watch. Taraji P. Henson did a phenomenal job, just amazing. And she has some wonderful acting chops. I mean, she's just I'm a huge fan of her as well. But yeah, so I guess we should get into it. Kind of the gist of the movie. If you haven't watched it yet, spoiler alert, definitely take a minute, watch the movie, come back because we are going to be talking about the series of events that do unfold in the next few minutes. So essentially, we meet Janiya, who is a dedicated single mother. She has a little girl that has a myriad of health issues. Um, she's trying to make ends meet. She works multiple jobs. She's also trying to go back to school, and believe she's getting her nursing degree, I want to say, or she's going to work towards her nursing degree. So she's really trying. Like, she's trying to get things to where she wants them to be. And it just seems like she has setback after setback. And as we go through the film, we find out she works at a grocery store for like a douchebag, and like he's just not a very nice man. And there's an incident at the store. He thinks that she's in on it, tries to blame her, and at that point, things really start to escalate. All the while, she's trying to get over to the school to pay for lunch plan for her daughter and get some other things squared away. She's having issues with her vehicle. She's short on rent. Her landlord's about to put her out. So she has all these things going on. And then finally, she gets her paycheck. She goes over to the bank to try and cash it. And the issues just kind of continue and escalate from there.
Yes. Yeah. And I love how you touch on, right? Like how everything comes together. In my notes, I wrote relatable for anyone who's been there. Anybody that's just had one of those days, weeks, months, whatever, where it's just one thing after the other. And your heart goes out for her because she keeps saying, just give me a break, give me a break. Her boss is like, no, I'm not giving you a break. I can fire you. The cops are like,
Mm-hmm.
no, give me a reason to make your day worse. And all of this just keeps compounding on to her that she doesn't get any. Because my next note was, we need more solidarity, especially
Mm-hmm.
as feminine facing people. I feel like this movie
Yes.
really also touches on where she gets support from the detective and the bank manager
Mm-hmm.
and the other women who are really quick to turn against her, to not support her.
Mm-hmm.
That, I feel like those were huge themes in this movie. And it was really interesting
Mm-hmm.
who aligned with her. The older, like, bank manager who was like, she's mom,
Yeah.
like, she's
Mm-hmm.
coming undone, or the detective that was like, oh yeah, I
Yeah.
could have been I could have been her kid. She could have been my mom, sort of thing. And all the
Absolutely.
forces, right, that just come against her.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the bank manager, which I think she's called Nicole in the movie, Sherry Shepherd plays her, which
Yeah,
another actress
excellent.
I love, love, love her. Um, we find out that when Janiya's in the bank and she's demanding her paycheck be cashed and she has a gun, Nicole calls the police, and I'm like, what? So I'm like, well, she called the police, but now she's acting like her friend. I don't understand this. And then at the end, when you realize, once again, spoiler alert, when you realize the little girl had died the night before, and Janiya's grief has just completely impounded her and her sense of reality, which, by the way, is absolutely normal, and we will be discussing that very soon. Um, you realize that Nicole is empathizing and really trying to make sure she's able to support her without there being an incident. So it completely makes sense at the end. And I really enjoyed how the film did that, because you have a preconceived notion and then it's kind of flipped. And I think that's pretty wonderful too, because a lot of the time when you go through something extremely traumatic, you never know where that support is going to come from. And sometimes it comes from very surprising people and places.
And I love how you start to bring up the traumatic grief that she experienced. And so she is completely disconnected with her reality. She loses her daughter traumatically. She's already under so much pressure that, and those that have had grief know we can often go into this autopilot where another part of
Mm-hmm.
us takes over. So we're going through our routine because we don't know how to start to process the trauma, the grief. And she's also, so if you've had traumatic grief, and Anna knows this as well, with traumatic grief, our sense of safety has been disrupted. Our main character, she already doesn't have a sense of safety. So she doesn't have that to start processing her grief. So of course we see her unraveling, coming undone, because she's still stuck in survival mode.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, in the context of she's experienced traumatic loss of a child, right? So if you want to broaden that a little bit, caregiver grief is similar in the fact that your main purpose is taking care of this person. So whether it's a parent, a child, a sibling, a grandparent, a friend, that person becomes your life, right? So if they're abruptly taken out of your life, you have no sense of routine, no sense of stability. And as Margaret mentioned, your safety is kind of gone because you've really involved yourself so much in the care of this other person, and now they're no longer there. So it is extremely traumatic. And I think that oftentimes John PQ public, normal, everyday person will be like, oh, what a relief they passed away. Or, oh, okay, well, now they no longer have the stress of caring for this person. Or, you know, in this case, oh, well, you could always have another child or something like that, without the understanding of not only have you lost someone that you love, but everything your life has engulfed itself in is gone. And I think that the metaphor, especially when the police are coming in, is so strong because that is what it feels like when you lose someone that you are a caregiver for. And I think that the film illustrates that incredibly well because that is what it feels like internally. There's no way to really describe it, but the visual there, I think, hit pretty close. I don't know. What did you think when you saw that scene?
I feel like it was overall a powerful movie as you're putting together the pieces. You're like, oh my gosh, like her identity was already holding on by a thread. And then when that
Mm-hmm.
thread snapped, she lost it, right? And that you're right, that powerful reality is going to come. And I appreciate that it was reality. So often in movies we get the Hollywood ending, and this was like, no,
Mm-hmm.
reality is going to come. Just like with grief, the person is
Mm-hmm.
dead, you are going to have to, well, you're not going to have to, you can choose not to, your life is going to struggle if you don't. Life still goes on. Things are still going to happen. The police are still going to come in. And even her buffers were trying to soften that for her when, like, the public, too. And I feel like you also touch on that. We often don't know where support's going to come from. She wasn't getting it from her landlord. She wasn't getting it from her boss. These people we think are going to give us that empathy.
Mm-hmm.
And how often is it strangers like, well, Nicole, who warms up, the detective, the public, that is like, no, this isn't okay. And even touching on the spectacle that happens with our media when something happens to
Mm-hmm.
somebody, and then everybody who wants to know or have an opinion. I feel like this movie touches on so many things
Yeah,
that, yeah, it's a well layered movie.
absolutely. And, one of the big things that it really briefly touches, and we really can go into now is after such a loss, this this type of loss is very different than kind of what you would consider a normal loss, right? It is traumatic. Um, it's also going to be something that isolates you from other people. There are questions like, my child has died. Am I still a mother? When people ask me if I have children, what do I say? Those sorts of things. And if you have experienced the loss of a child, these are very normal thoughts and behaviors that you're going through. It's a very disenfranchised grief because not a lot of people have gone through it. Comparatively speaking to someone who's lost, a grandparent or a pet or, something like that, which is difficult as it is more common. You expect that when you're of a certain age, you've probably had these experiences. And I think a lot of the time when you find out someone has lost a child, many people react and they're like, oh, that's so sad. Or, oh, you can have more children. Or, oh, it wasn't meant to be. These are all things you really don't want to say. Um, I'm sorry for your loss. That's great. Or, is there anything that I can do to help you? What can I do? Or it's okay to say as well, I'm not sure how to support you. I'm very sorry for your loss, but I'm not sure what to do. What can I do that would help you?
And thank you for reminding people how to show up if somebody does feel safe enough to share. Because I also feel like when you touch on loss of a child, so many parents then, when they are at work or social gatherings, oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
look at the picture of my kids. My kid turned 5. My kid's going away to
Yes.
college. Oftentimes, parents who have lost a child will not share that they are a parent, and then that further isolation, because if they say, oh yeah, my child, oh, what grade are they going into, what do they enjoy doing, and then they don't want to have to go through this social awkwardness, discomfort,
Mm-hmm.
maybe emotional managing of saying, oh, my child drowned, my child died hitting their head in the bathtub, like in this movie it was a seizure that caused
Mm-hmm.
that. So it gets easier, and then that isolation that's being felt by the parent. So parents that have lost children feel like, Anna and I preach this all the time, find your supports, find those places, find the people that are going to be, maybe you go to gatherings with a friend who knows. So then somebody is like, oh, do you have kids? Oh, what do you think about the pizza? Isn't that pizza homemade or whatever it is? So you have that friend that can be that buffer or check with you. Like, are you okay talking about what happened? Or how do you want me to show up for you today?
Absolutely. And the other thing with child loss as well is I think when people hear I've I've lost a child, right? The immediate reaction is they assume it's a child that's either grade school or adolescent age. But lots of people miscarry, they have stillbirths, SIDS, um, or even as an adult, losing an adult child as well. These things happen as well. And, there's also losing a live child. And what I mean by that is sometimes in life, we use coping mechanisms that are not healthy for us, and they result in us losing custody of a child. Or relationships break down and the child is no longer available to be seen. And that is also a very strong loss of a child as well. Yes, they're still well and alive and breathing. However, they've been lost essentially due to a variety of reasons. And I don't think that one loss should be said to be easier or less painful than another, because they all have very far reaching impact on the person experiencing them.
Thank you for bringing that up and also touching on the emotional experience, as we do see in Straw, that there is this guilt, this shame. So she's going about her life because she is feeling guilt. She is feeling shame as we learn about how her child died. And that's so normal when we lose children. Even as you were saying, if it's to life circumstances, we lose custody, that guilt and shame is huge. What if I had done this? If I had done this differently? And that's why she so wants to get this check cashed so she can go pay for her daughter's lunch and field trip and all those things to help alleviate the guilt, the shame that she is experiencing with the loss of her child. And those emotions often get suffocated. We don't want to share that. We don't, like Anna was saying earlier, then people, oh, it's for the best. You did your best. These ways that people pacify us with being like, yeah, you feel guilt, you feel shame. Let's explore that. What did happen? How do we help rebuild after you've lost your child to life circumstances or death or what has happened?
And in the movie, I really think the isolation um, is illustrated sadly, but strongly when we find out that neither her mother nor her sister were there with her. Um, because at the end, her mom's like, she died. And I'm thinking to myself, why are you not with Janiya? Like, I don't understand. And, but that is because that's very normative in my family, that if something horrible and tragic happens, and I realize not everyone is in this situation. I'm very close with my immediate family, so we make sure someone is available and with the affected person at all times. That's just a thing. Part of it's cultural, part of it's just our family normative type of behavior. But it really showed how isolated it was, because she says it's just me and my daughter. And I'm like, yeah, like your mom and your sister aren't even there for you. Holy crap, it just is you and your daughter. And once again, to go back to Sherry Shepherd's character, Nicole, really validates how alone Janiya is, because here's a woman who grew up in the same area, originally worked at the bank that was closer and transferred. No, she worked at a different bank and then she came back to that bank. She transferred because she wanted to be closer to help everybody and work with the community that she knew and grew up in. So my assumption is she probably knew Janiya from way back when, and she's been coming to the bank forever. But then she provides the support, and I'm like, wow, okay. I mean, that's amazing and wonderful. But once again, someone who essentially is a perfect stranger or that you don't know very well is the one that's supporting you. So I think that the isolation was illustrated very nicely.
And I feel like you also touch on, as strangers, like we are strangers to other people, the
Mm-hmm.
importance of empathy, of compassion, of putting your stuff aside. Because again, that old saying, you don't know what something else is going through, somebody else. So
Yes.
are you going to be the stranger that offers the smile, that does the something so that somebody goes, they can breathe? Or are you the stranger that we see in Janiya's day, where people just keep
Mm-hmm.
compiling and compiling? And she's even saying, which is heartbreaking, I just need a break. I just need a break.
Yeah.
I just need a break. And nobody's doing that. We see that a bit with the school principal. And before you know what happened
Mm-hmm.
to her daughter, then you can see where the principal is trying to figure out, how do I support you? What's going on? I'm really confused
Mm-hmm.
by what's happening, and trying to offer that support. But at this point, Janiya is inconsolable, and she's just like, hey, I need to do
Yeah.
this. And that's where the principal's like, I don't understand. And that's further aggravating. And Janiya is not in a place to receive that support because of school. I'm guessing Janiya has her own history with school being unsupportive,
Mm-hmm.
judgmental, deluded, that social services has possibly been called by the school. So there's a break of trust there. And so, going back to my point, as strangers, how do we begin more like a community and not like, oh my gosh, that person's so rude? Maybe you're rude because maybe you're having a Janiya day and you don't need me to
Yeah.
add that. Or if I'm having a Janiya day,
Mm-hmm.
or you cut me off and I'm pissed off about it, maybe I need to be like, okay, instead of confronting you, let me deal with why I'm pissed off, why I'm
Mm-hmm.
upset by how you're showing up, and not get into a fight with you.
Absolutely. Yeah, and even depending on your communication style, like I've had times, for instance, in the workplace or a professional setting where someone is just extremely aggressive towards me, and then I'm like, oh, wait, this happened recently. And then I will just say, I understand that you're frustrated about whatever it is, but I need you to tell me how I can help you. And there's nothing wrong with saying that. Like, in order to help someone, you have to know how, and asking them, or even saying, I need you to tell me how to help you. That's a good thing. Like, I know it comes off as kind of direct, but sometimes, depending on where someone is in their roller coaster of experience, you have to be a little bit direct, and that's okay too. And, it is important, even in professional settings, um, you know, check in on somebody that's gone through a hard time. Make sure that they take a break, or that they have a nutritious lunch, or, if you know that they like blueberry muffins, maybe bring them one. Or it's the small things that really help and really count. And, a half a muffin and a side of fruit and a 5-minute break can do wonders for a person. And also knowing that someone else cares.
Yes, well, I love that. And I've got a couple things to add to it, right? So, how can I help you? How can I support you? Beautiful. On the receiving end, you can say, I don't know. Like, that is an honest answer. And then how do you work that out? Also, as we're talking about communication, I say this all the time, openness and curiosity is huge. And if you're not open and you're not curious, if Anna's like, hey, Margaret, I got to talk to you, I can say, I'm not in an open and curious place right now. Can we talk at
Mm-hmm.
another time? I'm honoring our relationship. I'm saying, I can't meet this. We could get
Yeah.
into a fight. And same with Anna. And also, I love like the fruit, the muffin. You get to show up with what you have. If somebody's like, I need to vent to you for the next 2 hours. I'm not in a space to hear that. I'm not in an open and curious place right now. Do you want half my lunch? Do you want to go to lunch? Oh my gosh, can I give you a hug?
Mm-hmm.
Can I share a funny cat video with you? You get to come back and offer what you have, and the person can say, no. I often tell my clients, I'm like, we're asking
Mm-hmm.
for sugar. And it's okay if somebody doesn't have sugar. If I'm like, Anna, do you have a cup of sugar? She'd be like, I don't have any sugar. She can say, I've got agave, I've got honey. I can go to the store. Do you need me to buy you a 5-pound bag of sugar? Or she'd be like, I don't have it. And so often we get really hurt if I'm like, I need sugar. And she's like, no. Oh, and I'm upset. She's doing me a favor. She's saying, I can't meet what you need right now. Go get that where you can get that.
Absolutely. And the other thing too is, if particularly we're talking about this movie, if you have experienced loss of a child, there are a lot of services and supports out there. If you are to a point where you are feeling extremely isolated and not sure what to do, please call 988 24/7. You can get a hold of someone who will be able to listen. They are trained professionals and can also help you find additional resources. Also, depending on the loss in your experience, your local hospice and mental health organization, as well as your local Department of Social Services, may have some resources for you as well.
Yes. And if you go to our Instagram at the Femme Fatalities, pinned on there is a list of warm lines. You can call. Some of them are BIPOC focused, some of them are LGBTQIA focused, so that you can call. And you can also check, because given our current political climate, for some people, that's scary. We see in this movie too, the police are scary. So calling a warm line, you can ask their policy. If I disclose things with you, is your policy to call the police if I say I'm suicidal, if I'm homicidal? Because there are warm lines that they're not going to do that, whatever you disclose to them. And there are lines like 988 that they will, if you're not going to safety plan with them or engage in what they feel says that you're not a risk to their parameters, they will call. So you get to ask that too. So if that's a fear for you, do you call the police? What is your policy for calling the police on this? Because there are, and a warm line is a line where somebody answers the phone, that you have a person to talk to. You're not talking to a machine or AI. So I wanted to throw that out there because I feel like that sometimes can be like lingo.
Can be very
like,
daunting. Yeah, canned responses usually are not super helpful in life altering events. So definitely, as Margaret mentioned, check out our Instagram at the Femme Fatalities. We have a lot of different resources listed as well. And please let us know if you have seen this movie, what your thoughts are. If you love Tyler Perry as much as I do, what is your favorite Tyler Perry movie or show or play? Or all of the above. And if you enjoyed this cast and would like us to talk about similar films, please let us know. And until next time, make sure you eat your coffin cookies, drink your bruja brew, howl at the moon, and don't forget,
like, subscribe, follow. Thanks for listening and watching.
bye-bye. Yay! Woohoo!